Okay, I want to take a video of this. This is my Super Hawaiian powerboat. I belong to the Bartholomew County Remote Control Flyers Club, and we had a swap meet not too long ago, and I bought this. There was an auction, and this boat was in the auction, and of course I'm new to this the power boat or any kind of boat RC, and because I actually fly remote control planes. That's my main hobby. But anyhow, they had the auction, and I bought this. I'm going to go ahead and put this top on here just so you can see exactly what it looks like. It's pretty neat. This is it. It's 36 inches long, and as I found out, it's modeled. You can see Super Hawaiian powerboats, and as I understand it, this boat, in the real boat, won a world championship. I think it was like back in the late 80s, or I think it was like 1989. That's what comes to mind. But anyhow, this boat, as I've been told, was at that time, this boat's probably 15 years old at least, and I was told that at the time it was brand new, that this cost like $200 plus, maybe $225, somewhere in that area. And anyhow, and that was dollars back 15 years ago, so 225 or so bucks now. Then in today's dollars, probably thinking 275 or something like that, 250, 275. Anyhow, this was in an auction. There was only one other bidder, and when I bid $30, I went from 25. The bid was 25, and I bid 30. The auctioneer looked at him, and he shook his head, and so I bought this $200+ boat for $30. And since then, I took it down to a place called Round Pond here in Columbus, Indiana, and it moved fairly good, but it just wasn't fast at all. I mean, I don't know what the top speed of it was. I doubt if it was more than 10. I don't know, maybe 15 mile an hour, if it was that much at all. Anyhow, as you can see, I'll hold this up. This, by the way, these are the two motors that used to be in this boat. They're brushed motors. How old they are, I don't know. It could have been, if they came originally with a boat, you're looking 15 years or something like that. Anyhow, these were, I'm sure at one point, were state of the art, a brushed motor. Well, when I first got these, got the boat, and shortly after that decided we wanted a larger or a faster, a different motor, and a brushless motor. Anyhow, I checked the RPMs of these. I actually had them mounted in my vise, and I had a small propeller on it from one of my model planes, and I've got a tachometer, and each one of these, the RPMs were about 60, anywhere from 64 to 6,600, each one of them. obviously those were, I removed both of those. Here's the other gear that was in the other gear that was in the boat, which has since been removed. I'll go through I'll take everything out of here and then show you. This is this servo was connected to let's see how it was. This servo was connected to the little ball joint here, and the transmitter transmitted naturally to the receiver, which is right here, and this wire was plugged into the receiver. That signal then went to the servo, and the servo then moved this resistor all the way, like this in this position would be low power, and over here would be high power. So that's what actually how it actually ran. But with the setup that I've got in it now, no longer need this. I've actually got it set up. It's really like a one of my remote control electric planes. So that came out. The servo came out. This is the last thing that I took out, and I just took it out yesterday, and it's the 4 little AA batteries, and this provided power to the to the receiver, and then the receiver, like I said, did move this resistor, and that's how the power changed. Oh, anyhow, none of that is required anymore because I purchased from Hobby King. This is the box that it was in. It's a motor and an ESC combination set, and installed. I'll hold it up where you should be able to see it reasonably well. Right here. So in place of 2 motors, now we have one, and it's a brushless motor. Now, where I said before, the motors that came out of this, each turning about 64 to 6600 RPM. Well, I checked this one before installing it in the boat. I saw one reading, and it's kind of hard. It's not the tachometer is not the one I've got is not, I guess, not the best in the world, but it's the best that available to me at this time, and it consistently showed 15 to 17,000 RPM, and I actually saw at one point it jumped up to 21,000 RPM. So this brushless motor, turning at least 3 times more RPM than the old motors, and it should absolutely make this boat, instead of running 15 mile an hour, I don't know what it's going to be, but it should be a screamer. Anyhow, the other thing that came with this the brushless motor, as you saw, that the box on this showed motor and ESC combo. The ESC, electronic speed control, is right here. So what happens now is, and I'm using still the old receiver, so what happens now is the transmitter transmits a signal which is received by the receiver, and there's a wire coming out of the receiver, comes out and actually goes from the receiver, and it's a part of, and it was when I got it in the mail, received it, the small wire is actually comes out of the ESC, which is this apparatus right here. That signal from the transmitter to the receiver, out of the receiver, and that's what causes the ESC to send more power to the motor, and that's how you get the variation of the speed. All of this pipe insulation that I put in here, I couldn't figure out. Well, first of all, what I did was, obviously 2 motors came out and only put 1 motor back in, so the boat had a tendency to be in the water. It would have leaned slightly to the right because there was more weight on the right side. Because, like I said, it used to be one of those motors was here, the other one was right there. So what I did was I took a string attached from the back of the boat to the very front, hung it from a nail, and then I took the battery, put it in the boat, and I moved it back and forth this way, that way, until I got it to the point that the boat was absolutely horizontal in the water with this top, setting on it. Because I had no idea whether this was a little off one way or the other either. So with it on, then I determined that the proper place for the battery was exactly where it is. And so while the battery was just setting in that position, then I put all the insulation foam in, and I have 4 different. I got 2 metal hydrides, and this is a lipo. I have another one just exactly like it, and this comes right out, and I can always go right back. The battery will fit right into the slot. All 4 batteries are exactly the same size, and so I can always get, by having this pipe insulation setting in here, I can always just put the battery in like this. I'll be in the same position every time, so the boat will always be horizontal in the water. So because you can see the majority of the battery, the center of the boat, and the majority of the battery is over on this side, and that's what it takes to balance the thing. The last time that I had this, I did have trouble. Had a test set up, and the last thing that I did, I couldn't get it to work consistently. And a guy in our remote control club, Gary Waters, informed me that I still had installed in the from the old setup. I had this installed, and it has a push-pull switch, which it actually mounted and came up right through here. And so this was actually, with the 4 batteries, it was supplying power to the receiver, and with this setup, the ESC was putting information, their power, to the receiver, and it just didn't know what to do when it got a signal from the transmitter. So as soon as I took this out, everything got consistent. The test on the that I had set up here on the workbench, everything started working great. At that point, I disconnected everything and then started mounting the equipment, all the electronics, which is not that much, just the motor and the ESC. I put it in. I actually had to drill a small hole here, which I am going to watertight. I'm going to seal with hot glue around these wires. This is all watertight back in here. There's no leaks at all because I've certainly already tested that. And so right now, what I'm going to do is, as I understand it, the procedure for powering this up, and this will be the first time, there's an on-off switch involved with the ESC, and for the switch in the forward position is on, and I'm going to double check. Okay, the ESC, the small on-off switch, it's in the on position. And I'm going to set the boat down here, because the next thing is to, excuse me, I'm going to power up the transmitter. It's 72 megahertz, by the way. That's why the big antenna. And we got power to the transmitter. Good power. So I'm going to set the transmitter down. And now what we do is plug in the battery. And hopefully it will come alive. And I'll have a good test here on the bench. Okay, plugging in the battery now. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery. Okay, looks like we've got a good signal. This is very good. It's got the blue light blinked twice and then became solid, and there's also a red light right beside it, and that was the same condition of the test when I had it on the bench. And I can hear, I don't know if you can hear this or not. I'm going to bring it over to the close to the camera, and maybe you can pick up the sound of the noise. But this right, I'll try to move this down. Yeah, that should be in frame. Right in the center of this ESC, the noise you hear, if you can't hear that, turn your volume up a little bit, and you should hear a steady hum. Well, that's a small fan that's turning, and that's how the ESC cools itself. You know, being enclosed like this, like in the summertime, it's 90 degrees out, it's going to probably get it's going to be warm in here. Not so much the heat. This is not going to generate any heat. The motor will generate. When I was testing it, when I got through, I ran it for maybe a half minute, or not quite that long, about 15 seconds at full throttle, and it was after I shut it off or shut the power down, I felt the battery, and it was still it wasn't hot at all. It was just a little bit warm. So okay, with that said, I'm going to close this up. I can still hear the hum of it. I'm going to set it down. Now, me do the very first thing is I'm going to get I'll turn it around here so that you can see just a little bit better, and I'll try to hold the boat up. Let me prop the nose over here a little bit. I got the transmitter, and the transmitter, by turning this knob, that should. Okay, here we go. I'm going to turn, if I was in the water, I'm going to turn the knob clockwise. Okay, there you go. That's how the boat steers itself. You can see the prop on the end of it. Okay, now the next thing is on the transmitter. As you can see, there's a trigger. This trigger right here, when I push it toward the rear, that gives makes the prop turn. In this case, it would be turning counterclockwise, powering the boat forward. And with the boat stopped, this small trigger at the front, if I move it to the front, it then reverses the prop and will cause the boat to go backwards. So anyhow, I'm going to set it down. I'm going to give it a little bit of throttle, and hopefully the prop will start moving. There we go. Now that was just a little bit of trigger. What I'm going to do is start with that small amount of trigger, and I'm going to go up to full power for just a couple of seconds, and then I'll bring it back down, and then I'll put it. Well, I'll go ahead and check reverse on it right now. All right, here I'm going to push the trigger forward. Okay, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is going. I may have said counterclockwise earlier. I didn't. Let's see. It's so hard to determine. I need to. What I'm going to do is set this. Let me get this box out of the way, because I want to grab the very end of the prop shaft so I can determine exactly which way the prop is moving. So let's see. It should to go in reverse. It should go clockwise for reverse. And let's see. Yes, it is. It is going clockwise, and with the cut of the prop going clockwise, that'll cut the water and move the boat back. And if I move the back of the trigger, it should be going clockwise. Let's see, counterclockwise. Is that right? Let's see. Double check. Clockwise. Oh yeah. Okay. Here we go. Clockwise to go in reverse. The prop is going clockwise. That will make it go in reverse, and then the other way. Yeah, the other way. Going counterclockwise. That is pushing against the water, so that would make it go forward. Okay. Just like I said, what I'm going to do now is, now that I know everything is working, it's going properly, okay, I'll hold it up, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to take it very slow for a little bit, and then I'll go to full power, and then shut it back off, or shut it down. So I think it's going to be a screamer. So here we go. I cannot wait to get this in the water at our local park, Millrace Park, and a place called Round Pond. This is going to be a joy compared to the speed that it used to go when I first got it to what it is now. I think I'm going to be very happy, because that is really absolutely screaming compared to what it did on the old motors. What else can I tell you about? Oh, okay, it is 36 inches long. Before, on the old motors going across the lake, the front end, as you probably know, when a power boat first starts off, its attitude is something like this, with the nose up, and as it goes faster and faster and faster, it actually goes into plane, and the front of the boat will go down, and then the entire hull is just skimming across the water. You can see the design of this hull is starts back, and it's got a first offset here. I have no idea what that offset is called. I know it involves airflow, air getting in here, and helps with the buoyancy of it. Not buoyancy, but helps keep it up as much out of the water as it possibly can, so it has the least amount of resistance from the water. The other thing that the only thing I've added to this, because somebody, when I first had it in the water, and it was at a nose up kind of attitude, they suggested that I put, I think they call them sponsons. I don't know for sure, but anyhow, out of you can see on the bottom, and I did make an attempt. That's with modeler's paint, red and yellow mixed together. I came up with a shade of orange. It's more red than it is orange. I do plan on, I've got some phosphorescent day glow orange paint, so I am going to mask off and give that a shot of paint, so it's more a better match to the orange than what this color is. Let's see. Oh, I told you that I paid $30 for the boat. Well, counting excuse me, counting the 2 batteries, the yellow ones here, those 2 batteries, the total bill for 2 batteries, I think including shipping, was like $95. So I had the original 30 plus the 95. I bought 2 other batteries. I'll get one of them to show you. Like I said, the yellow ones are lipos, and this and the other battery like this that I bought, nickel metal hydride. I don't know what. Oh, these are 3300 milliamp, whereas that's a 5000 milliamp. So, as explained to me, both of these are 11.1 volts. This 8.4 2-cell, I believe this is a 2-cell battery. I believe this is a 2-cell. It's 8.4 volts, and this battery, I'll get the other one so I don't disturb the one that's in the boat right now. Here's the other battery, other zippy battery that I bought, and it is, gosh, I need a magnifying glass almost. Let me see if I can get to my magnifying glass. Yeah, here it is. This is such small print. Yeah, I think this is a 3-cell. I'm pretty certain. I can. Where that was a 2. This metal hydride is a 2. Whoa! What happened here? Oh. Okay. Let's see. Let me get the battery tester and plug the balance lead into this, and the number of beeps tells you how many cells. It's a 3-cell battery. As you can see, it's 95% full. The difference between the lowest cell, the voltage, and the highest cell is just 0.03. One more click, and here it shows you that the maximum is 417, the lowest cell is 4.14. One more click, and it shows you what the reading of each cell is. The first cell is 4.15, the second cell is 4.17, and then 4.14. So this is a 11.4 volt battery. Of course, it's fully charged, so we're actually looking at 12.45 or somewhere, almost 12.5 volts. Of course, it's fully charged, even though it's rated as 11.1 volt. When you charge it, it actually charges to a higher voltage. That voltage then obviously drops down as you run it. Whereas this battery, its nickel metal hydride, and it doesn't even have a balance plug on it, so I can't check to see what the maximum charge is. But I can see on the front of here it's 8.4 volts, and so that would be a 2-cell, and so each cell in here would be somewhere around 4.2 or to 4.25, something like that. Now the only difference between these two batteries, but they're both going to this battery, even though it's a small, it's 3,300 versus 5,000, it should make the boat go just as fast as this other battery. And as a matter of fact, what I will do, and just for my own edification, I'm going to replace the battery that's in there with this nickel metal hydride and do the same test again, because I do want to I want to hear it and see that it does the same thing. So in the sequence of events, if I was going to shut everything down, first thing I would do is disconnect the battery. So I'll do that right now. Okay, the battery's disconnected, and like I said, it just comes right out, and the other battery will slip right in its place. It fits in there snug enough, and I'll turn right around and plug this new battery or other battery in. Hopefully. Okay, got the same signal. Everything's good. I got the blue and the red, so it should be ready to go. Now I'm going to close this. I'll close this up, and I'll hold the motor up like I did before. Let me sit down here, and I'll start out low or slow. First of all, I want to check both forward and reverse, and I'm sure it's just fine. Yeah, good. Okay, so I'm going to give it to start out just like I did before, a little bit of power, and then go up to full throttle, and then I'll come back down. Sounds to me pretty much the same, and of course it should. Now the only difference between the 3,300 milliamp and the 5,000 milliamp, as explained to me, it's like think of it as a gas tank. The 5,000 milliamp, it's a bigger gas tank. The fuel that's coming out, going to the carburetor, like in a gasoline or a gasoline situation, the amount of fuel going out would be the same. It takes power to run the car, so in this case it's energy coming out. Each battery is putting out the same amount of energy. It's just that this 5,000 milliamp is a bigger gas tank, so this will allow the boat to run longer before I have to change the battery out. I don't know what the run time is going to be on it. I'm thinking probably with the nickel metal hydride that probably 5 minutes at full speed or 4 minutes at full speed. Would think 7 or 8 minutes at a reasonable, like a half speed. And I would imagine that this 5,000 milliamp, just thinking of it as a gas tank, it's 1,700 milliamps larger in capacity, so it should run maybe 3-4 minutes longer than what the other battery does. So I think that's it. Oh, the other thing I'd mentioned that the two nickel metal hydrides, I purchased those from the guy who helped spec'd out the motor, an ESC combination, which I ordered from Hobby King. The motor in ESC that's in it now was about $45. I paid $30 for it to begin with, so that's $75. I purchased the two nickel metal hydrides from Gary for $25 total, so that's $100. And then I bought the two 5,000 milliamp batteries for around 95. So, and I spent some other money, and I can't remember what it was, but I do have a running total. And that $30 original investment, I actually gave the club $35. So that original investment, the 4 batteries, the motor and ESC, what's the other thing? Motor, ESC, the batteries. Gosh, what else? Something else. The ESC, the motor, ESC, batteries. Oh, and the cost $35. Right now, I've got $222 in the boat. When I went to this auction, I had no idea I wanted a power boat. But when I saw it, I knew that I had to have it. That's why I would have bid up to, I probably would have gone up to $65, $70. Just because it's definitely worth that. I've looked in Tower Hobbies magazine. They have I saw a power boat there that out of the box, 70 miles an hour. I don't expect this setup to go 70 mile an hour, but I would certainly think that it'll certainly surpass 40 mile an hour. At least that's the hope. And I hope it has so much power and it's so fast that the round pond at Millrace Park will not be big enough for it at full power. I'm thinking that it may just get across the round pond. My rough estimate, I'm thinking of it in terms of a football field, 100 yards. And so I would think that round pond is probably, rough guess, 75 yards across, maybe 80. So if this thing is zipping out at 40, 45 mile an hour, it's not going to take but a couple of seconds to traverse the entire pond and, of course, be into the concrete wall on the other side. So that being the case, if that's what happens, then there's a lake about 2 miles further out west of town, and from my home it's probably 7 miles, because I'm on the west side of Columbus. The little pond that I'm talking about, it's more than a pond. It's a small lake and a large pond. That pond was created when they dug dirt, fill dirt for the building of Interstate 65, the overpass over 46 State Road 46 west out of Columbus, and that road then goes on to Nashville and Bloomington, Indiana. But anyhow, all the dirt that was drug, or I guess scooped, you could say, however, the big bucket loaders, whatever. Anyhow, created a huge hole, which has since, like I said, filled with water, and now it's a small lake or a big pond, whichever you want to call it. And if this boat is too fast, and I think it will be for round pond at Millrace, then I'll be taking it to that larger lake. And as I understand it, that's where the guys who run power boats, remote control power boats like this, that's where they take theirs to the small pond. So that being said, I can't think of anything else to tell you about this. Oh, I am getting a new my buddy has picked up, and I should be getting it sometime later on today. It's it's pretty well into today. Matter of fact, it's 25 minutes after 3 a.m. So I am going to have to get to bed here before too long. Get 4 or 5 hours good sleep. And I'll be up and at 'em probably about the crack of dawn, and get the day started. And if it's a beautiful day like it was today, it's going to be the power boat early in the afternoon, and then out to our flying field and do some RC plane flying. And there's not going to be many more nice days because this right now it's November the 15th, and been pretty cool the last few days, but the sun has made it very nice to be outside. Clear skies, blue, and but we're not going to have too many more days like that. And if it's a nice day tomorrow, you can bet your sweet bippy I'll be out at the field flying, getting in those last flights of the year. So anyhow, with that, I'm going to say adios, amigo. Happy trails. Hope you have a good day. If it happens to be a weekend you're watching this video, hope it's a good weekend for you. And I hope you're having as much fun with your hobby as I'm having with mine. And again, like I said, I didn't know I wanted a powerboat, but now that I've got one, I wouldn't sell this. It just wouldn't sell it because I am enjoying it so much. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and take care. Have a good day. Bye.